peace. This your host, Selah Shalom, and this is the Cosmon Teachings in the words of Jehovah and his angel ambassadors from the Cosmon Bible, Owaspi. And the topic of discussion today is going to be called the Eoptian Age. And what do I mean when I say the Eoptian Age? As it is stated in the glossary of the Cosmon Bible, Owaspi, it states, the Eoptian Age, from the time man comes into being on earth until his race becomes extinct, is the Eoptian Age of the earth. So the Eoptian Age is the inhabitable time for humans on the earth. So this gives us a timeline for our physical existence as to the earth. So now, out of the four ages, when is the Eoptian Age? Well, as I stated in the timetables of prophecy, in one garden you have four ages. The first age being the time of creation. And then you have the second age, which is the time of growth. And then you have the third age, which is the time of barrenness when nothing can generate and grow on the planet. And then you have the fourth age, which is the time of destruction and rest. So the inhabitable time for man on earth would be the second age, which is the time of growth, the inhabitable time for humans on the planet. So now here I'm going to break down the Eoptian Age using the timetables of prophecy. In the Eoptian Age, which is the second age, is a period of 144,000 years. And half of this is 72,000 years, a half age. So the Eoptian Age is divided into two halves. The first half, and you have the second half. Now in the first half age of 72,000 years, it is made up of three intervals of 24,000 year periods called Gadar periods. And in the Eoptian Age, you have a total of 6 periods of 24,000 years. And these 6 periods are called the Gadar periods. Now I'm going to talk about the Gadar periods in the Eoptian Age. So now, what I mean when I say Gadar period, it is a period of 24,000 years which has to do with the planetary decline in temperature and warmth and heat. And an example of this in the book of Jehovah chapter 4 verse 19, where it states, "Let no man marvel because of the size of the mammoth and the ichthyosaurus, for there was a time for them as there is a time for the infusoria of this day." So in this verse it states that the large animal like the dinosaurs had a time on earth and are now extinct. And one of the reasons they became extinct is because of the planetary decline in temperature of warmth and heat, along with some cataclysmic events. And also showing that the planet produced much more heat and warmth that day to support larger animals, such as the dinosaurs, than the present day. So this proves a decline in planetary temperature of warmth and heat, which coincide with these Gadar periods of 24,000 years. So in the Eoptian Age, you have 6 Gadar periods, starting with a planetary temperature of 100 degrees of warmth and heat, and then 6 Gadar degrees below this is 94 degrees in planetary temperature of warmth and heat. So keep these degrees in mind for later on. Now we're going to break down the arc cycles in the Eoptian Age. Now in the Eoptian Age, which is 144,000 years, you have 48 arc cycles of 3,000 years. So in a half age, which is 72,000 years, you have 24 arc cycles of 3,000 years. And in a half age of 72,000 years, you have 3 interval periods of 24,000 years called Gadar periods. So one Gadar period of 24,000 years, you have 8 arc cycles. And in 2 Gadar periods, you have 16 arc cycles. And in 3 Gadar periods, you have 24 arc cycles, which is 72,000 years, a half of the Eoptian Age. And in 6 Gadar periods, you have 48 arc cycles, which is the total number of arc cycles in the Eoptian Age, the inhabitable time for man. Now we're going to go into the beginning of the Eoptian Age. The Eoptian Age starts with the creation of man on earth, which took place in the first age, which is the time of creation, the Simuan Age. Here's the breakdown. In the first age, you have 144,000 years, which is 6 Gadar periods of 24,000 years of planetary decline in temperature. So in a half age of 72,000 years, you have 3 Gadar periods of planetary decline in temperature. Now in the book of Cosmogony and Prophecy, chapter 5, verse 19, it states, to find the Simuan Age, especially for man, places temperature at 98 degrees for good health and 102 for inflammation and death. 4 below normal will therefore be the period of man's inhabitation on the earth. After the Vortexian radiation reached this period, man will cease to propagate and so become extinct as to the earth. So in this verse, it gives the number of the planetary temperature for man's existence on the earth. It said at 102 degrees is inflammation and death, unsuitable for man on earth, and that 98 degrees is suitable for man on earth. And 4 below this, which is 94 degrees, is the time man will cease to propagate and become extinct as to the earth. Now the planetary temperature in the first age started at 105 Gadar degrees of planetary temperature unsuitable for man on the earth. And 6 Gadar degrees below this is 99 degrees, a planetary temperature suitable for man on earth. And here's another scripture where it states the planetary temperature for man to be created on the earth. In the book of Cosmogony and Prophecy, chapter 5, verse 17, it states, place the Simuan Age at 99 degrees, the time of quickening animal life. So in this verse it states that the time of quickening animal life was at a temperature of 99 degrees, which is suitable for animal and man on earth. And in the book of Knowledge, chapter 4, verse 17, it states, by being in mastery over his person, Jehovah created countless worlds, of which the corporeal earth is one, and he created the living thereon. And the time was 1 Gadar, 24,000 years. So in this verse, it states that Jehovah created the living in 1 Gadar of 24,000 years. So the time man was created was within the 6 Gadar period of the first age, which had a planetary temperature of 99 degrees, suitable for the living to come forth on the planet. So now we're going to move into the middle of the Eoptian Age. So now, what signified the middle of the Eoptian Age? In the book of Leka, son of Jehovah, in the introduction verse, it states, Jehovah said, I gave unto the earth a time of full earthhood, and that the generation of man might know the period thereof. Behold, I caused man to build a pyramid in the middle of the world, for it was my mark, that from that time henceforth man should turn from stone temples and the hope of everlasting flesh life to rejoice in spiritual abide in my Ethereal heavens. So in this verse, it states that the pyramids was a mark on earth as being in the middle of the Eoptian Age. And it is a sign to identify the peak of the stone temple building era. It also stated it was a peak and a turning point from the physical age to that of the spiritual age. And in the book of Wars Against Jehovah, chapter 49, verse 20, it states, Jehovah said, suffer them to build this, for the time of building is midway between the ends of the earth. Yeah, now is the extreme of the earth's corporeal growth. So let it stand as a monument